Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1 through chapter 11, verse 16. Those who enact unjust policies are as good as dead, those who are always instituting unfair regulations, to keep the poor from getting fair treatment, and to deprive the oppressed among my people of justice, so they can steal what widows own and loot what belongs to orphans. What will you do on Judgment Day when destruction arrives from a distant place? To whom will you run for help? Where will you leave your wealth? You will have no place to go except to kneel with the prisoners or to fall among those who have been killed. Despite all this, his anger does not subside, and his hand is ready to strike again. Assyria, the club I use to vent my anger, is as good as dead, a cudgel with which I angrily punish. I sent him against a godless nation. I ordered him to attack the people with whom I was angry, to take plunder and to carry away loot, to trample them down like dirt in the streets. But he does not agree with this. His mind does not reason this way, for his goal is to destroy and to eliminate many nations. Indeed, he says, are not my officials all kings? Is not Calneh like Carchemish, Hamath like Arpad, Samaria like Damascus? I overpowered kingdoms ruled by idols, whose carved images were more impressive than Jerusalem's or Samaria's. As I have done to Samaria and its idols, so I will do to Jerusalem and its idols. But when the sovereign master finishes judging Mount Zion and Jerusalem, then I will punish the king of Assyria for what he has proudly planned, and for the arrogant attitude he displays. For he says, by my strong hand I have accomplished this, by my strategy that I devised. I invaded the territory of nations and looted their storehouses. Like a mighty conqueror, I brought down rulers. My hand discovered the wealth of the nations, as if it were in a nest. As one gathers up abandoned eggs, I gathered up the whole earth. There was no wing flapping or open mouth chirping. Does an axe exalt itself over the one who wields it, or a saw magnify itself over the one who cuts with it? As if a scepter should brandish the one who raises it, or a staff should lift up what is not made of wood. For this reason the sovereign master, the Lord who commands armies, will make his healthy ones emaciated. His majestic glory will go up in smoke. The light of Israel will become a fire. Their Holy One will become a flame. It will burn and consume the Assyrian king's briars and his thorns in one day. The splendor of his forest and his orchard will be completely destroyed, as when a sick man's life ebbs away. There will be so few trees left in his forest, a child will be able to count them. At that time, those left in Israel, those who remain of the family of Jacob, will no longer rely on a foreign leader that abuses them. Instead, they will truly rely on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will come back, a remnant of Jacob, to the mighty God. For though your people, Israel, are as numerous as the sand on the seashore, only a remnant will come back. Destruction has been decreed. Just punishment is about to engulf you. The sovereign master, the Lord who commands armies, is certainly ready to carry out the decreed destruction throughout the land. So here's what the sovereign master, the Lord who commands armies, says. My people who live in Zion, do not be afraid of Assyria, even though they beat you with a club and they lift their cudgel against you as Egypt did. For very soon my fury will subside, and my anger will be directed toward their destruction. The Lord who commands armies is about to beat them with a whip, similar to the way he struck down Midian at the rock of Oreb. He will use his staff against the sea, lifting it up as he did in Egypt. At that time the Lord will remove their burden from your shoulders and their yoke from your neck. The yoke will be taken off because your neck will be too large. They attacked Iath, moved through Migron, depositing their supplies at Michmash. They went through the pass, spent the night at Geba. Ramah trembled. Gibeah of Saul ran away. Shout out, daughter of Galim. Pay attention, Laisha. Answer her, Anatoth. Madmana flees. The residents of Gebim have hidden this very day. Standing in Nob, they shake their fist at daughter Zion's mountain, at the hill of Jerusalem. Look, the sovereign master, the Lord who commands armies, is ready to cut off the branches with terrifying power. The tallest trees will be cut down, the loftiest ones will be brought low, the thickets of the forest will be chopped down with an axe, and mighty Lebanon will fall. A shoot will grow out of Jesse's rootstock, a bud will sprout from his roots. The Lord's Spirit will rest on him, a spirit that gives extraordinary wisdom, a spirit that provides the ability to execute plans, a spirit that produces absolute loyalty to the Lord. He will take delight in obeying the Lord. He will not judge by mere appearances, or make decisions on the basis of hearsay. He will treat the poor fairly, and make right decisions for the downtrodden of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and order the wicked to be executed. Justice will be like a belt around his waist. Integrity will be like a belt around his hips. A wolf will reside with a lamb, and a leopard will lie down with a young goat. An ox and a young lion will graze together, as a small child leads them along. A cow and a bear will graze together. Their young will lie down together. A lion, like an ox, will eat straw. A baby will play over the hole of a snake. Over the nest of a serpent an infant will put his hand. They will no longer injure or destroy on my entire royal mountain, for there will be universal submission to the Lord's sovereignty, just as the waters completely cover the sea. At that time a root from Jesse will stand like a signal flag for the nations. Nations will look to him for guidance, and his residence will be majestic. At that time the sovereign master will again lift his hand to reclaim the remnant of his people from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and the seacoasts. He will lift a signal flag for the nations. He will gather Israel's dispersed people and assemble Judah's scattered people from the four corners of the earth. Ephraim's jealousy will end, and Judah's hostility will be eliminated. Ephraim will no longer be jealous of Judah, and Judah will no longer be hostile toward Ephraim. They will swoop down on the Philistine hills to the west. Together they will loot the people of the east. They will take over Edom and Moab, and the Ammonites will be their subjects. The Lord will divide the gulf of the Egyptian sea. He will wave his hand over the Euphrates River and send a strong wind. He will turn it into 7 dried-up streams and enable them to walk across in their sandals. There will be a highway leading out of Assyria for the remnant of his people, just as there was for Israel when they went up from the land of Egypt. So in this, God is using the nation of Assyria to deliver judgment on Judah for their covenantal breach and the wickedness that they're promoting on the earth. But Assyria itself, Assyria exalts itself at this time and claims in chapter 10, verse 13, "By my strong hand I have accomplished this, by my strategy that I advised. I invaded the territory of nations and looted their storehouses. Like a mighty conqueror, I brought down rulers." This sounds a lot like the message that Sennacherib gives to King Hezekiah. Claiming that the gods of the nations are no gods at all. And indeed, he's right in the vast majority of cases of the nations that he conquered before Judah, they were just idols made by human hands. But in the case of Judah, he was gravely mistaken. Yeah. And because they acted wickedly, they too are going to receive judgment. Carrying on, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 11 through 21. "I have become a fool. You yourselves forced me to do it, for I should have been commended by you. For I lack nothing in comparison to those super apostles, even though I am nothing. Indeed, the signs of an apostle were performed among you, with great perseverance, by signs and wonders and powerful deeds. For how were you treated worse than the other churches, except that I myself was not a burden to you? Forgive me this injustice. Look, for the third time I am ready to come to you, and I will not be a burden to you, because I do not want your possessions, but you. For children should not have to save up for their parents, but parents for their children. Now I will most gladly spend and be spent for your lives. If I love you more, am I to be loved less? But be that as it may, I have not burdened you. Yet, because I was a crafty person, I took you in by deceit. I have not taken advantage of you through anyone I have sent to you, have I? I urged Titus to visit you, and I sent our brother along with him. Titus did not take advantage of you, did he? Did we not conduct ourselves in the same spirit? Did we not behave in the same way? Have you been thinking all this time that we've been defending ourselves to you? We are speaking in Christ before God, and everything we do, dear friends, is to build you up. For I am afraid that somehow, when I come, I will not find you what I wish, and you will find me not what you wish. I am afraid that somehow there may be quarreling, jealousy, intense anger, selfish ambition, slander, gossip, arrogance, and disorder. I am afraid that when I come again, my God may humiliate me before you, and I will grieve for many of those who previously sinned and have not repented of the impurity, sexual immorality, and licentiousness that they have practiced. Yeah. Paul continues to plead to the church in Corinth that I'm not sure. I guess for one, it's to it's kind of like a wake-up call. Like, why are you respecting these so-called super apostles more than I? And because on one hand they're taking advantage of the church in Corinth, but Paul is saying how he took advantage of them by not asking for any physical compensation for what he was doing amongst them. And so was everybody else that he sent, Titus and this brother. Yeah. He wants them to reflect the love with which the church was first founded. Carrying on, Psalm 56, verses 1 through 13. Have mercy on me, O God, for men are attacking me. All day long, hostile enemies are tormenting me. Those who anticipate my defeat attack me all day long. Indeed, many are fighting against me, O exalted one. When I am afraid, I trust in you. In God, I boast in his promise. In God I trust. I am not afraid. What can mere men do to me? All day long, they cause me trouble. They make a habit of plotting my demise. They stalk and lurk. They watch my every step as they prepare to take my life. Because they are bent on violence, do not let them escape. In your anger, bring down the nations, O God. You keep track of my misery. Put my tears in your leather container. Are they not recorded in your scroll? My enemies will turn back when I cry out to you for help. I know that God is on my side. In God, I boast in his promise. In the Lord, I boast in his promise. In God I trust. I am not afraid. What can mere men do to me? I am obligated to fulfill the vows I made to you, O God. I will give you the thank offerings you deserve. When you deliver my life from death, you keep my feet from stumbling, so that I might serve God as I enjoy life. Yeah. Though people attack him all day long, the psalmist trusts in God. And finally, Proverbs chapter 23, verses 6 through 8. Do not eat the food of a stingy person. Do not crave his delicacies, for he is like someone calculating the cost in his mind. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the little bit you have eaten, and will have wasted your pleasant words. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.